Winterload going up against Bman. Now, both of these players are very, very well known within the community. Let's go reset the score. And I will have to say that it's going to be interesting to see who's going to be coming out on this one. I'm not sure what the disparity between the two are, but Winterload is a very, very good player. And it's going to be exciting to see how Bman would be tackling against him. So let's go ahead and dive on into it. So Bman in the blue over on the west side, while Winterload rocking the green, going over to the east side. So let's go ahead and change those colors, shall we? Winterload obviously enjoying that green, and Bman sticking with the blue. So with that, going into their compositions, Bman's gonna go ahead and go into your classic Badger comp, going with the Falcon in Skunk to tie in with the Squirrels and Pigeon. Meanwhile, Winterload going with a I'm gonna say Wox. This is a Wox composition with the Wolf and Fox combination of the tier 3, with as well the Falcons and Skunk, and of course the Squirrels coming into play for this game number 1. So early going in this game seems to be pretty chill so far, as we do see 3. When it comes to the mills, there is pretty easy for Bman to go ahead and get his second one. Kind of a pocket, kind of not. It is prone to attacks if Winterload goes for this as his second base. But it seems pretty even Steven so far when it comes to the base usage, because you can... I will say the edge would go to Winterload because of the fact as he is going to go into his tier 2 to start off. I will say that like with the cliff harassment, that's an option here. Unless Bman negates it with going early Falcon of his own, which it doesn't seem to be the case. He seems to just go ahead and go heavy on the tier 1 in the early goings. Nope, he decides to sell, and he will go for the Skunk opening. So, which Skunk harassment is not a bad thing. It's just that he has to go out of his way to go over into this area so that the Skunks can do some serious damage, in all honesty. And with the fact of how close the pigs are, it really depends on how he wants to angle this when it comes to the Skunks for harassment. Meanwhile, for Winterload, he is going to go for an early attack, it looks like. And I will have to give the advantage over to Winterload because he already has at least one tier 2 out. And even though he has one less Squirrel, we are going to see a bit of a retreat here from Bman to try and at least get a better defensive position and get more of a reinforcement. So Winterload decided to say, never mind, I'm going to go ahead and continue building up. Going into the second set of Falcons, and as well as go massive on these Squirrels. But now we're seeing Winterload trying his best to be a little aggressive here in this early going. It's true, it's like you can't attack because Braun can't get anywhere. Yep. That do be true. So it looks like that Winterload really wants to go for a cheeky shot here. And he does take out a Warren. And very cheeky play here. But will he end up losing his entire army as a result? And it looks like that is going to be the case. Trying to go for that one Warren. Ended up wiping out his entire army just about. But it looks like that he's not going to have too many losses there. So I would say there was a pretty even split for that particular battle. Not something that you really want to see losing a Warren like that, but at the same time, it's not like he does give off a pretty good fight. Just losing a Warren is not the end of the world, especially for the tier 1 Warren. Now with Bman going into Falcons as well, we are going to see that Winterload is going to go for that as the second mill, which I do think is a pretty good decision. Mainly because of the fact that like the harassment can still be there. And it kind of negates Bman from ever using that mill over here as we get into another fight. And now it just seems like Winterload is just going to go ahead and try and clean things up. MG's taken down. But Bman doing a good job of fending off his opponent from going any deeper than that. And Bman doesn't really have the ability to go for a solid counterattack, but he's going to go for it anyways, trying to get something here. One pick goes down. And here comes the reinforcements of Bman's army. And he could get a little bit more, but doesn't seem to be enough, but 2 pigs, especially with no other pigs coming into that second mill, it comes to kind of build up a little bit here. So right now, Bman doing a very good job trying to, you know, make sure to punch back whenever his opponent tries to do something crazy. And I will say the skunks become more and more valuable if he does get a second one because of this choke point here. If Winterload doesn't decide to go the roundabout to go for an attack, the skunks will pretty much pick a lot of people off one by one pretty easily, even with Winterload's pigeons trying to keep everything healed up. So now Winterload's going to start farming up his second mill, it looks like, and then Bman is going to go into his second one of his own, which again is very interesting because I think Bman has the ability to go ahead and attack it with falcons because of the fact that they have gives you better vision and all that good stuff. And it seems like Winterload's trying to get as much scouting as he can. We are going to see a tier 3 be dropped there for Bman. The badge is going to come out, and I'm pretty sure Winterload did spot it. So he may consider. He is going to be understandable that he's going to go ahead and try and defend that mill as much as possible. Ends up losing a falcon in that regard as well. And now Winterload may be thinking of actually going to go ahead and go for this attack. He does have a... He may have a decent chance here, but I'm not too sure. The choke point really becoming into a factor as most of the tier 1 goes down. And it looks like it's going to be an even split between the both of them. But that falcon is going to stick around, trying to see if he can get something out of that mill. But again, no dice, as the falcon does end up going down on Winterload's ends. A very even game between both of them. Bman may have to sell the Badger because I don't think he really has enough to go ahead and get it out. Especially without how little economy that he has. He has 1 farm up at the moment and still has the 2 Q, so he will end up selling the Badger mill. Meanwhile, it's becoming very scrappy so far in this first game. So right now, both sides are just trying to see if they can find a way to target that second mill, but Bman being able to go ahead and fend off very easily, and now he's going to go on the aggressive counterattack. And right now, Winterload's in a bit of in some trouble at this moment, as the skunk gas is coming down, the squirrels are coming in with a lot of damage, and Winterload is going to end up tapping here. So Bman gonna go ahead and win the first game of this series, as he's gonna be on the board 1-0. So good stuff going on in that regard, as we go ahead and dive into game number 2. All right, so down over on the west side, well, east side, excuse me, we have Bman in the blue, while Winterload going up north, rocking the green. So looking at both of these compositions here, I will have to say that Winterload going full-on boar mode. Winterload does love shuffling things up a lot, trying to play around with what he has. He is a bit of a randomizer. So he's going to go with Squizzard, as well as the Cam Ferret, with the boar as well, with the balloon to play around with. Meanwhile, for Bman's going to go with sticking around with the Badger composition, but this time adding snakes to the arsenal, completely negating any defensive units, which I believe he had in the first game. So this is going to be a very interesting premise to see how well this goes for both of them. I will say that when it comes to the mills, definitely advantage going to Bman. 100% going to go to Bman for the advantage here, as we are going to get into the opening for both sides, because Bman has like 1 that's available, 2 that's available, 3. All 3 of these are not very good placements because they're all on the lower ground. At least these 2 are a little bit more accessible, especially this one. But like, there really is nothing for Winterload to really play around with when it comes to mills, because there's a campfire that's all the way out and about that's super close to the second mill, and The only second mill available to him is like this one right here, but that's in higher ground and it's very easy, prone to attack. He does have a campfire, and like these two are just like way out the way. There is a little bit of a pathway up here to get to it, but we are going to see Winterload gonna go very quick on the second mill, not surprising. Meanwhile, for B-Man, he's gonna go ahead and dive into his Falcons to start things off. And it looks like Winterload's gonna try and go and use those lizards, because I will say that his opportunities for lizards is very much in the prime, as with the speed of lizards, they can go ahead and take out quite a bit of damage depending on what angle they go to. And it looks like the best angle would be going this way, depending on where the location of B-Man's army is going to be. But he's going to have to go heavy on the lizards to really make some noise here. But Winterload's going to actually dive into the building more of the squirrels. Yes, hello Winter. We are doing your game. You're the second game that I'm doing right now. So I gotta say, I kind of feel bad for you for the first game, because like I don't think you had a lot of options with mills and stuff. So it was very scrappy game one, for sure. But so far so good for the second one, getting into the second mill, and B-Man just now getting into his second mill, which could be a little bit of a concern. So for B-Man anyways, as Winter is going to be in quite a bit of the economy lead at the moment, and also getting a bit of an edge on army as well. So B-Man's going to go ahead and see if he can try and make some noise, try to at least take down that mill. If he is successful, that's going to be pretty huge into this game. Really annoying in some way or another. Yeah, I can tell, because like I'll see you talking as we finally get into this battle. Winterload is gonna go ahead and just wipe the floor off of this one, and that's gonna put B-Man in quite a bit of trouble, as all the pigs, that second mill is basically gone. That's like 180 food already done, and that probably is going to be the game real quick, as Winterload just to say, you know what, bump it. I'm just gonna go ahead and clean a house right freaking now. And he has done more than enough to pretty much put B-Man in a very tough spot. B-Man trying to force himself to try and get a counterattack, but I don't think he has the ability to do so with what little he has. He does have a skunk, he does have a falcon, but right now, with the amount of freaking lizards that are there for the harassment, it just makes it way too easy, and that's going to be Winterload taking game number 2. That like turned up real quick. Holy! Like, it was just like, all right, cool. Everyone's chilling. Out of nowhere, one attack led to another, and it just went crazy. So, game number 2 going over to Winter. And as I was going to say for you, Winter, that game number 2, like literally having no mills around you, that sucks. Like, I hate when that happens. Yeah, he did poke the bear. He did poke the bear for sure. So let's go ahead and dive into game number 3. We are guaranteed a game 4 now. So very exciting. It's kind of similar to what yesterday was like. I had one that was a sweep, one that was up to 4 games, and then one that's a 5 games. So we'll see which one this is going to be as we head into game number 3, and we'll see who takes this lead here. So going over to the east side, we have B-Man rocking the blue, while Winterload over on the northwest side rocking the green. As Winterload's going to be rocking the Wadger is what I would like to call this one. The Wolf Badger composition, along with Cam being the Soul Tier 2. And we're going with Squizzard for Winterload. Meanwhile, for B-Man, we're going Squode, as well as a Mass Tier 2 composition with Falcon, Skunk, and Snake, with a tad bit of Badger. And what's interesting about this, there are no pigeons for this Badger. That is a choice. Let me... This set has, LOL. Well, I mean, even then I would tell you no spoilers, Winter, because, you know, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm just casting the game. I'm just here to cast. But yeah, both sides going for the Gentleman's 8, which is completely fine. And I will have to say that It's gonna be interesting how this is gonna go. I will say when it comes to the mills, uh, I will have to give the advantage to Bman again a little bit here because of the fact that like they're a bit bunched together. It's a much smaller map comparatively. So I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of harassment all over the place. But for Winter, there's not a lot of options for him because one that's easy but is on the high ground, and then this one's just kind of like out of the way, a little annoying, unfortunately. But in any case, we'll see how each of these players make it work. We're seeing that both sides are gonna go in a different direction. Bman going heavy with a squirrel. Meanwhile, for Winterload, he's gonna go ahead and go heavy on the lizards, which is very interesting. Being a gremlin here, killing off the commander, not letting him go home the nice way, anyways. Sent him packing with a whole bunch of freaking sticks in his chest. But I will say, it's going to be interesting to see how Winterload wants to harass this, because this is kind of a lizard map in a way, but it's just going to be, depending on what angle they decide to go with, as Winterload is going to go around, but he's going to get meet up real quick with the amount of squirrels that are there, and Winterload's going to be forced to retreat. Like, as much as I admire wanting to go for the lizard harassment, there's not a lot of angles to really go for because of the cliff that's just blocking off this entire side, and the pathways are so narrow, so it makes it a lot more difficult to really kind of swarm in for a kill. So I can't really blame him for Winterload. Still gonna go for mass lizard and then going cam, so a very reptilian based right now, but Winterload is gonna finally go put down some squirrels because any kind of harassment is basically null and void at this point. Especially with Bman continuing to set up very well. Gonna go heavy on the skunks. And meanwhile, Winterload is gonna have a set of cams ready. Probably gonna possibly go for a camp snipe, maybe? That would be a very juicy way to do things. And of course, it really depends on if he decides to... He does group everybody up and is going to try and get the cams to go into a certain position, get ready for a cam snipe. But yeah, so far so good. We are going to see a Badger coming in for Winterload. And right now, Bman, it's going to be interesting to see if he actually sees this. But he is going to go, it looks like he's going to go for an attack here. And we are seeing the cams going down there, so the snipe will not be as effective. But we are seeing that Bman's going to try and build up his second mill. We are going to hit the 5-minute mark pretty soon. But it looks like Winterload is going to go for a one fall swoop type of battle. Says, whenever I choose lizards, it's because I'm mad. Which is kind of ironic because I tend to play very passively. Yeah, I know that like when you bring lizards out, it's always scary because you know how to play the aggressive game very, very well, I would say. Because I remember the games that I played with you, like, I just got, like, comstered and dumpstered from all the aggressive plays that you've been playing around with. Anyways, we are going to see that Winterload is going to go ahead and just hold off and get the little bit of delay of the Badger by. Meanwhile, Bman finally is going to go into his Badger, but it's going to be pretty late in this game as the 5-minute mark has been hit. And now the lizards may come into play as, ooh, that's a cheeky spot. I'm pretty sure Bman will probably catch that pretty quickly, but we'll see how this plays. We'll see how this play out. As Bman is possibly looking into trying to at least get the Badger paid for it. Is probably why he's very hesitant to do anything, being a little bit floaty. He will get the Badger up, but Winterload's Badger is already going to be ready, so I would not be surprised if once it's out, he's going to go say bump it and just go swing. Go for that final fight. But now it looks like that the lizard is going to be used as a distraction, and now the battle is going to commence. And right now the lizard's going to get clapped up pretty quickly. Now it's just the Badger and a change of squirrels, And now majority of the army for Bman is now gone. And here comes the revving. All the skunks are down. Nothing but the tier 1. And the Badger can just do whatever she wants. The badass Badger will not quit today. And now the other Badger's coming out, but that's going to get cleaned up real quick. Both sides are starving, but it's pretty obvious who gets this victor, as Winterload will get this game. So that, I believe that ties, that Winterload is going to take the lead here, 2-1 on match point. Taking my time, but I've noticed that I do better just rushing people down. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a very interesting way, because, like, I think one of the hardest things to, like, go up against is when you're going up against a very aggressive player, because you have to pretty much be on point for a lot of defenses, I think. At least in my opinion. But yeah, we do have Winterload on the match point. So we'll see if we're going to have a game number 5 here as we dive into that. So, will our boy Bman ever gonna tie this up to take it to a game 5 as he is coming out in the east side? While Winterload up north looking to try and clinch things up right here and now. Winterload, another big change up, not surprising, but this time going with a Fox composition with the artillery as the defensive, with the Falcon and Cam and Squirrels. Meanwhile, for Bman, pretty much going to keep with what he believes is working very well for him, which will be the Badger and Skunk. But he does drop the Falcon with the Pigeons, because, you know, that's very, very important. And, of course, the Squizzard, which I think is a pretty good map for a Squizzard, to be honest with you. While, yes, there is going to be a couple of narrow opportunities here with the amount of walls that are getting in to start off, but once you get past this point, you can really kind of go anywhere if you want to. Whether you want to go long ways or just go straight for it. Meanwhile, for Winterload, he's going to automatically go into his second mill already, which I will say it's pretty even Steven. It's probably one of the more even maps that I've seen so far today when it comes to the availability of mills, I would have to say. Bman does have a safety, does have a little pocket mill on the ready as well if he wants to go ahead and get that. And with all those mills on the high ground, it really does make things a little bit easier for him. Meanwhile, for Winterload, he does have one on the high ground as well, and one on the low ground. So I'd say it's pretty even. I'd say it's pretty even for sure. And so far, so good. I'm trying to see what's going to get bought up between these two. Bman's going to go for that more Squizzard type option. And meanwhile, Winter, just keeping it simple, keeping it basic. Trying to build up as many tier 1 as possible. Probably going to put in a couple of more farms if he would like to. And it looks like he's trying to find a way just to prevent any chickadees from happening. Making his army go a little bit more forward. Because B-Man is coming. And those lizards are not going to be enough. They're going to get wiped off very quickly. So there already goes one. And B-Man decided to say, you know what, nah, I don't think it's a good idea to go ahead and go for this. Because Winterload will have a little bit of the superior army. Even though that they are pretty matched when it comes to the... Ooh, whoa, B-Man. Actually going to go for a Badger here. Going to do a 1-base Badger, it looks like. So he's just trying to make sure that everything goes his way. He wants to go ahead and try and go for a quick swing to head into the next round. But so far, so good. So far, so good. As Winterload's possibly going to do the same thing. Get the artillery up on his end. Curious to see if he actually is going to go ahead and... Nope, he goes ahead and sells the artillery. Gonna go ahead and get into the Fox. So he's going to say bump it since he is seeing the defense... Seeing B-Man go a little defensive here. And, oh goodness. I hope it's like a good remember now or a bad remember now. But of course, don't spoil, obviously. But Winterload's going to go ahead and get the Fox going. B-Man is got his Badger already built up. He's going to go heavily defensive. I'm pretty sure he's trying to consider what he can use second mill from. He's going to decide to go for the more aggressive position of a mill, which is interesting because usually in a lot of these games you'd want to use the pocket mill at your second, since it is heavily guarded from what you already have set up. But so far, both sides just kind of slowly but surely building all of their units. This might be a long setup for one big finale battle. Saying this one was pretty fun. I'm glad this was a good one, because it does seem like it's gonna be one of those like, all right, we're going to build like 2 big boy units and just go shove each other out and see how this goes. That was some very terrible phrasing there. I apologize. You know, what am I doing? Goodness, man. But yeah, so far so good. I do like the variety of B-Man's army a little bit, since he has a little bit of lizards, obviously with the Squizzard game coming into play. Can definitely see the lizards trying to go for some quick draws, going to the front line, as well as the squirrels following behind them. And of course, trying to make sure that Badger gets taken care of. So they're going to get rid of that campfire. And Winterload's going to go into his 3rd mill as that happens. And so I'm very curious to see if he's going to go ahead and, with the angle that he's deciding to go with, ooh, the commander is going to go down, and that's going to put Winterload in a prime position to go after all of his army, and B-Mans are forced to have them retreat. And right now, Winter doing some bullying here with that Fox. And now the Badger is going to be focused on a little bit. And that's the crazy thing about Fox, is that the Fox is going to be played very well here, being a bit of a nuisance, taking out all the tier 1 that he can. As the Foxy Lady getting guarded well. Now the battle's going to commence. And it looks like the Badger's going to get cleaned up very quickly. And that's going to put Winterload in a pretty big advantage here. He's going to have to go ahead and sell that Badger, it looks like. And he is going to do just that, just to try and get some kind of army built up. But now with the Fox all by itself, it's time for some easy pickings. 1. Trying to get as much as he can. And honestly, it would have been good if B-Man had some cams in his arsenal as well, to probably replace the MGs, because the MGs are not going to be very useful in the fight from this point on. Because like, cam snipes are a blessing, especially if you're dealing with a Fox player. But it just really depends on like where they go, so that way you can go ahead and take it out. But now Winterload's kind of playing a little bit of the starve game at this moment. I would not be surprised if B-Man decides to go ahead and try and get that 3rd one down, as once again the campfire is going to be deleted. And it looks like Winterload may have to sell a skunk to possibly try and get something going. And charging the lizards in is a very interesting choice, and I don't really see this going very well for B-Man, as B-Man's army is just going to be completely wiped out, and Winterload can just go ahead and wrap this up right here and now, and good lord, he coming. Well, he's going to continue to try to poke around with the Fox. Saying goodbye to 1 pig, saying goodbye to 2 pig, not gonna do the 3rd pig though, but yeah, that's just playing around with it at this point. So GG's going over to Winterload, as he ends up taking it all this time, as he wins it in 4.